If there was ever a game I never thought I'd go back to, that game would be Anthem. Back in 2019, the release of Anthem was viewed as one of the largest commercial live service failures of our lifetime, and it did not take long before the game to be abandoned by the general public, leading EA to desperately announce that they would remake the game from the ground up under the codename Anthem Next. Not the worst way to make the most of an atrocious situation, at least it would be free after all. But as fate would have it, Anthem Next was cancelled in 2021 as interest in the IP plummeted so far that it was clear the best course of action was simply to cut losses and move on. And as quick as it came, Anthem was soon forgotten. Over 4 years later, I wasn't sure what I'd find going back to this dead game. Dead games die for a reason. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to be playing, and I wasn't sure if I'd even like it. But away from the hype and practically any expectation, I sat down this month to give Anthem one last chance before it's ultimately shut down forever. So when you start Anthem, it becomes immediately apparent that you've got just about everything you can imagine for an epic game here. You play as a mercenary freelancer who dons a robot suit called a Javelin. The game begins with some pre-rendered cutscenes that are pretty cool, and as the player it seems like there's some interesting things happening. Pre-rendered cutscenes are typically made outside the game's main engine, so they could have been made at any point, and it makes you wonder if they were created before or after the actual game. Given the chaotic development of Anthem, there's no way to know for sure. Anyway, the visuals look amazing and the characters seem lively as you're pushed through the giant walking robot, so it's clear EA has an imaginative art team at least. The intro section afterwards is boring, but at least the conflict you're thrown into with all the futuristic sci-fi elements with the invasion and the cataclysm seem like it could be the starts of an awesome story and game. They built a compelling style of game here with a unique setting, a unique time, and some very unique visual decor. You factor in the possibility of a modern combat system with Iron Man style flying, an open world full of activities, big bosses, multi-stage quests, fat loot and customization and fulfilling progression, and compelling characters driving that exciting story, and damn, does this not sound like the most amazing thing ever? That is the potential of Anthem that so many speak of. After the prologue, you take control of the Javelin in the first mission. You fall from the sky, smashing down into the jungle floor as the game fades in with gorgeous music. The camera pans to the player, giving a striking view of the jungle path, leading to a majestic waterfall and beautiful scenery. The lighting is absolutely incredible, and as you jump off the platform and soar into the skies, taking in the breathtaking valley floor below, carved by a cascade of molten lava, you say to yourself, wow. This is going to be the most epic game ever. The flying feels excellent, the game is beautiful, the open world is serene and unique. You flip open the map and you see this magnificent world awaiting you, and you get this warm, fuzzy feeling like perhaps you're in for something special where anything can happen. This is the next-gen futuristic action loot hunting adventure that we all wanted, right? I wish. While Anthem does have more going for it than people give it credit for, it ultimately drops off very fast. The problem is the pretty window dressing simply doesn't last long. Shiny graphics and a couple solid features will only get you so far. The best games of our generation do not skimp on all the other things. The story of Anthem is an issue forever ripe. It's a cobbled together mess of simple story threads and repetitive missions that do not take advantage of its open world. Clocking in a whopping 10 hours, it flies by fast, and before you know it, it is gone. Looking back on it, it's a disappointing foundation and not memorable in any way. It just doesn't do much of anything. The missions suck, the villain is dressed up well but not fleshed out. It doesn't do much with your pilots. Can you remember anything about the character you actually played? Probably not. Fort Tarsis is the bland city from which you launch all of your quests and stare into the empty eyes of the various NPCs you meet. begging for them to give you an exciting mission or have something interesting to say, but they don't. The supporting cast are a handful of characters that don't extend beyond the basic functions they serve. Annoying kid who craves power, crippled guy who forgives you to move to the next plot point, and sterile woman standing near the forge who gives you missions. Is this the best that we could do? The game's one surprise is cliche, and the gang gets back together moments can be seen from a mile away. It's amateur story developments at best. BioWare's long-standing commitment to character work is absent in this game, and the biggest sin was not giving the material or time to build that strong sense of self that we want from these characters, and forgetting to build a memorable story to support some of its otherwise successful elements. Perhaps you can excuse the need for any deep storytelling or character growth. This is a looter shooter, right? But can you? Not when the game has so few other great features, I would say. When everything in the narrative front is very shallow, it shows a blatant disrespect to the team members who did put their heart and soul into the project. The voice actors, the animators, and the world design crews, who all did a terrific job with the material they had. You might disagree, but storytelling has a large impact on the overall enjoyment of Anthem because every mission has narration that is a unique instance of the game world. This is part of the reason why it was so difficult to get new content out for Anthem as time went on. Every quest is a told slice of story with a voiceover. Either way, Anthem's endgame missions are ripped straight from the story anyway, so you'll be going through them infinitely, making story presentation a priority either way. Anthem doesn't have enough enemies, variants in mission design, and unique events or reasons to kill enemies in its open world to exist without its story exposition. Hence the hybrid story-based loot hunting genre it occupies, making the presentation of its material, again, a priority. Obviously, the writers of this game were forced to redo the story and the concept many times over. That's poor management and direction, not just bad writing. Worst of all, you don't make any choices that matter and no character is gray or pushed beyond the basic functions of good guy, bad guy. Then you look at the actual writing, which is so clumsy, given the cast the uncomfortable job of trying to deliver compelling performances with the cringiest of lines. The actors did the best they could with the amateur writing they were given, and I do feel bad for them. The story isn't actually that bad. Some of the story threads and backstory bits are pretty cool, such as the war and the freelancers. The potential is through the moon, but Bio didn't capitalize on it. Who wants to play through a story that's just okay? I don't. Anthem is enjoyable in the same way a cringy movie might be entertaining, but is never considered a good movie. Playable, but entirely forgettable and almost disgraceful from a company renowned for their ability to craft some of the most compelling stories seen in gaming ever. If you continue to dive into Anthem's narrative issues, you'll perhaps find the shared open world as one of the main culprits. In Anthem, the player queues up for activities and missions in Fort Tarsis, which acts as both the in-game hub and the place you're thrown into when starting any gaming session. By holding down a button on your controller or keyboard, a menu opens up for the player to select what they want to do. Then you wait through several loading screens while the game tries to match you with other players. You don't fly out of Fort Tarsis or anything like that. It actually doesn't connect to the game world. Thus, it's basically a virtual menu if you think about it. It's pretty convenient game design, but it showcases the lack of cohesion between the game's playability and its actual open world space. It's at this point that the game has you following quest icons from one objective to the next, while a cipher relays information to you from time to time. Every mission tells you exactly what to do, which isn't much. Defend the area, kill a horde of spiders until the bar fills up. You don't go off the beaten path, ever, and you don't have to navigate anything yourself. This is par for the course in many games, but the vacuum of Anthem gives you no opportunity to interact with it otherwise. Even in free play, there's no open world cities, no important characters to talk to in the actual world, and certainly no feeling like the world has been lived in at all. The only things there are to do are time trial races and open world events, which, you guessed it, has you doing the exact same things as virtually any other fucking mission in the game. In a normal open world game, you'd have cities to explore, real dynamic events, characters to meet in the world, and a large amount of interesting quests and secrets to find. You might even do a quest that takes you 3 hours. You'd at the very least see NPCs walking around with actual names. Instead of having a cohesive world, or really any of this, you follow breadcrumb trails and loading screens that act as cheap narrative transition devices. You revisit the same areas over and over and complete the same basic loop ad nauseum. I don't know about you, but I feel like a robot when I play this game, no pun intended. Anthem to me feels like blocks stuck together, not a natural ecosystem built for immersive adventure. And that is a true sign that they did not take advantage of the beautiful world that they made. It is a backdrop only for superficial gameplay design, which sucks. And after a while it gets really boring doing yet again another collect 12 shiny orbs in the sky. Obviously this wouldn't be so bad if Anthem had a great loot system and proper endgame balancing and a variety of options for play, but it doesn't. This has always been Anthem's death knell. You might be able to justify a bad story, but you can never justify these things. Anthem has a loot crisis, it always has, but the worst part is there's just no content. The early days of Anthem started off with abysmal drop rates for gear, and it did get better over time, but the loot grind just isn't worth it, considering the lack of fun things to do. Anthem's late game involves doing pretty much two things, repeating legendary missions or completing seasonal strongholds on whatever difficulty you can manage. These get rotated once per week, so get ready to do the same stronghold again and again, and again and again and again. Do them all day long until you get enough materials to visit one of the 4 tombs for a level 80 gear roll and then repeat it all over again. Because the game has essentially only 3 dungeons, it gets vomit inducing very fast. Equally because the gameplay in Strongholds is designed the exact same way as virtually every other mission in the game. Kill enemies, gather orbs, defend the area, and kill boss. The same boss you've killed 5,000 times already. The gameplay is fun, but there's not much of a reason to play beyond seeing your guy's power score go up as you wander the vast empty space of Anthem's endgame, picking up the same items and skills but just different numbers attached to them. Loot is plentiful, but 95% is a big steaming pile of salvage material and the game is entirely dependent on RNG. A little leeway would have been nice, like having the ability to re-roll single inscriptions, not free but for a very high price. Because Anthem has no reroll system and a billion affixes, the probability of getting exactly what you want is 1 in a million. The huge amount of inscriptions makes god rolls extremely rare, and it just serves as a mean to artificially inflate playtime and dilute the loot pool. Reroll systems to target certain abilities is a very nice feature for these types of games. Currently you have to spend Masterwork Embers to reroll the entire item. This is the game's crafting system and feels overly punishing when you roll 30 legendary items only to have 5 that are actually useful. Looters are personified by you wading through a sea of gear, but there's nothing wrong with softening the edges. Fishing for the right stats via crafting is worlds apart from rerolling, and that's exactly what the game needs. The gunplay and flying though is amazing, and it almost saves the whole damn thing. I can tell you firsthand I had a surprising amount of fun playing Anthem. In fact, it surprised me how much I was looking forward to playing Anthem every day. The core mechanics are so refreshing amidst the sea of other shitty mech action games. Anthem truly feels in a league of its own, at least the core of it was way ahead of its time, and that's what makes the whole game so frustrating. The shooting, dashing, flying, spell combos, and doing all the cool movement tricks while you blaze through the air gives you a rush like few other games can. The various things you can do with a jetpack make it really immersive, such as the hover combat and using jet boosts and air dodges in combat. The game has a great sense of style and the animations are easily some of the best in the biz. There's an innate satisfaction in the stylistic ways you can combo and kill your enemies. It's a crunchy, weighty, explosive, beautiful symphony. Anthem isn't Madonna, but the game is hot as f***. One of the best parts of Anthem is the distinction between javelins. Many games that have classes don't do nearly enough to differentiate them, and as a result they can feel pretty samey in terms of actual gameplay. Anthem offers 4 classes, which is the perfect amount, not sacrificing quality in the name of quantity. Every javelin offers a specialized way to play, and the part of the fun of Anthem is switching between javelins to get new gameplay experiences. And as a side note, the greatest irony of Anthem is that it never succumbs to class fatigue. You know, that feeling that now I have to go back and do all of this content all over again just to get back to the point where my current character is? Because Anthem basically has no endgame, you'll be doing the exact same content on repeat with every single javelin no matter what item level they actually are. That is irony. At least playing as the new Javs feels different. Controlling the beefy Colossus is seriously different than playing Ninja as the Interceptor. All the Javs have unique suits, powers, animations, flying mechanics and animations, and roles on the battlefield. Crash landing a nuclear melee bomb as the Colossus feels nothing like the spinning nosedive attack of the Interceptor. These individualized classes were what added a lot of playtime for me, and finding gear for each was the sole reason I kept playing in spite of the repetitious nature of the game. Build crafting is limited, there's not a ton of skills, but there's enough to make hunting it all down worth it, I guess. It is a shame that so much of the cosmetics are locked behind a rotating seasonal store though. The cosmetics are awesome. Probably the best part about kitting up your Javelin. I guess it rewards longtime players and it could be worse, but having only one piece of armor per reset per Javelin was a huge letdown for someone who was only going to be playing for a few weeks. And speaking of cosmetics, why are there no cosmetic drops? They should have added some to the high tier loot pools instead of plopping them into the in-game store. That would have been a really nice small step to add some excitement to the mundane loot system that supports the otherwise great combat system. But either way you slice it, the fall off is just so damn high that I never felt compelled to max out my Javelins. I've never played a game that had me saying this kicks ass for the first 15 minutes only to have me mutter I'm getting bored thereafter. There's no reason that this hot spicy gameplay should nosedive so fast, but it does because the activities in the world and the narrative structure actively sabotage it. Great shooting and flying can't save the tedium of Anthem, not for any serious amount of time. The story and the lack of an integrated open world are huge culprits, but the others are a complete lack of enemy variety, bad enemy encounters, and AI that barely functions. For a next-gen game, the program features of Anthem are ridiculously basic. Enemies in Anthem, for which you can practically count on one hand, are very generic and are either one-shot kills for your Jav or bullet sponges that act as gear score checks, meaning you either have mobs advanced to AoE or guys with shields that have a billion HP. For the most part, enemies have absolutely no combat strategies whatsoever outside of locking on to a single player when they get too close and raining down more firepower than World War II. If you have a high enough gear score, you survive, otherwise you don't.
Damn.
This gets taken to ridiculous heights when moving up Grandmaster difficulty tiers, where enemies will go from barely tickling you to instantly one-shotting you with their titanic health bars. This scaling just isn't fun and points to the lack of thoughtful game design. Harder enemies does not have to mean thicker life bars, and laser precision instant death. I understand that our Javelin is supposed to kill thousands of enemies in our time with the game, but that doesn't mean you simply disregard enemy variety or mechanics. Most of them have absolutely no AI and just shoots or runs straight at you, and this design doesn't force the player to adapt to much outside large enemies such as Titans. There are simply no enemy tactics to speak of. You never get flanked, they never work together, they are fodder or sponges only, and that makes the gameplay far too simple. Worse, advancing difficulty tiers changes nothing. New mechanics are never introduced and you never have to change up how you play unless you're in GM3 where some teamwork and communication is necessary. AI should be smarter at higher difficulties flat out. A trend in many games is to front-load game content as publishers know only a small portion of their players will finish their titles, let alone complete the hardest content. Due to generous refund policies in the PC gaming markets, makers are often encouraged to tailor a game's progression to get their titles beyond this danger zone. And by doing so, you end up with a game that's really fun for a few hours and then stale by the end of the game. Perhaps some of this staleness could have been alleviated through more play variety, but there is none. The game desperately needs a loadout system similar to what Mass Effect Andromeda did with its profile system. The profile system was ultimately flawed in Andromeda, but it would have been perfect for Anthem since Anthem limits you to 2 active abilities. Having only 2 abilities, 1 support skill and 1 ultimates, with no ability to change them out without going into a menu is really bare bones. For me it gets really boring since 2 abilities doesn't give you much to play with. Not to mention it gives you basically 1 combo since you'll be usually selecting 1 prime and 1 detonate ability when setting up your Javelin. So get ready to do your 1 combo over and over. The animations are amazing, but there's no reason we couldn't have fleshed out this system more. You could easily see Anthem adding in more abilities or a simple profile system with the use of a quick swap button. If I had 2 or even just 1 more set of skills for setting up custom combos, I would have had so much more fun in Anthem within the ocean of its repetition. When I go back to playing old games, I can typically find a better appreciation for them, and they end up being more enjoyable outside the hype. Unfortunately for Anthem, my extended playtime this year did little to change my opinion of the game. I feel the exact same way I did years ago. The gameplay and the flying were good enough to keep me interested through Anthem's lackluster story, but when time came for the endgame, there was nothing there. Every time I would log in, the same pattern would happen. I would have a blast for an hour, but then things would go downhill at unrivaled speed. I'd run the seasonal dungeon, blow some shit up, and collect orange engrams along the way. I'd even find groups on the reg in GM3. There are still people playing Anthem, and playing with others increases the mayhem and fun exponentially. Therefore, the first dungeon of every play session was really fun, but thereafter was less and less and less. When I realized that this was all I'd ever be doing, I began to withdraw from Anthem heavily. I would never experience anything more or less than this repetitive cycle of missions that I had already done 10 times over, grinding that never-ending gear score yet again. I would never meet any cool characters, I would never experience a great story, and I would never see the potential fulfilled of this could-have-been masterpiece. This made me so sad that I can't express it in words. I would just be chasing a dream that I wanted, following in the unfinished shadow of Anthem. A shadow that swallowed one of the great concepts in gaming, and one that took for granted unparalleled potential.
No Man's Sky, a game that went from this to this. Released in 2016, No Man's Sky was surrounded by excitement, anticipation, and most of all, incredible hype, promising more than 18 quintillion planets to explore, then finally being tossed into the hands of its eagerly awaiting consumers to just not be good. Like, at all. It was barren, lackluster, and missing almost more than half of what the developers and Sean Murray promised. Well, that was 2016, and my goodness has No Man's Sky changed since its release. Gently milk?
What? I'm sorry?
I milked them?
You what?
I have straw milk? With more than 21 major updates, over 70 patches, and even more content rolling out as the game continues to be live, with thousands of players, new and old, exploring the farthest reaches of space. Many people have been asking the question, is No Man's Sky worth playing in 2023? After all, it's an open-world space game with a procedurally generated universe waiting to be explored, whether that be by yourself or with a party of up to 4 friends. So I went ahead and jumped back into No Man's Sky, both solo and with a friend, to let you know if you need to give this game another chance. The only fair way for me to do this is to start a brand new adventure. Now, to my surprise, this game gives you a lot of options when starting a new character. You have the normal difficulty, relaxed, creative, create your own rules, which are surprisingly extensive, like, holy, that's nice. Survival and an expedition, which are content-focused story beats that are dropped with each update, allowing you to play with other players and experience a special piece of content. I went ahead and just chose normal since I wanted the intended experience, and let me tell you, the experience was experiencing. I didn't mean to shoot you. Oh, whoa, 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 ayo, I don't like, I don't like the creature looks like, the creature looks like, I don't like it. Sorry. I'm sorry. I don't like this. I feel uncomfortable. Get away from me. I'm not gonna lie to you here. The first 1 to maybe 2 hours of No Man's Sky's intro is really boring. But stay with me because I promise you this game gets a lot better. Because what other game lets you name an anteater bear porcupine thing Timmy? This game does. You start with the basic tutorial, how to move, use a jetpack, scan for materials, you get the picture. Your first goal is to fix a spaceship that you have found crashed on this planet with you. With no memory as to who you are, where you are, or how you even got here, the story of No Man's Sky throws you into a self-discovery adventure. Sure, you may want to just get into space right away and start doing all these fun activities that you saw in the latest trailer, but you gotta earn those wings first. It isn't until around an hour of learning how to do the basics for movement and flying with your now repaired ship that you start building your first base on a planet that you don't even want to be on. Oh my god, constructing bases, shelters, hearth and... Why do I have to do this now? This is the first thing I have to do is make a base. I don't want to do this. I get that base building is an important core feature for No Man's Sky, but something about having to place a base on a planet that you don't like just hurts my gamer brain. I really didn't want to be here for my base. I don't want to do base building right now. This isn't even a planet that I want to stay on. But don't worry, you can always change your base in the future easily, so don't get into the whole building process that much. I did the bare minimum and I moved on. Once all of that is done, you are free to fly up into space, skip over to the next galaxy, and start exploring. Eventually, once you follow the main story beats that guide you into your next solar system, you're introduced into the space anomaly, which is just a multiplayer hub, and this hub lets you get new quests, points of interest, and more game mechanics. You're also allowed to play with friends now.
They spawned me in space.
We'll go fly over you.
Yo, what is that?
I don't know. It just gave me its phone number.
Oh, let me write that down.
After greeting my friend Andrew in space, we wanted to explore the nearby planet to see what we could find. Really that much to do here.
Yeah, there really isn't.
To be fair, we did land on a planet that was practically the equivalent of the Arizona desert. So before we headed back into the anomaly to start a quest, I needed some oxygen to keep my life systems online, and thank God Andrew had some.
Okay, how do I transfer, like, not all of it?
Give me all of it.
Alright.
4,239. We decided to start on a quest that has tasked with taking down a horde of creatures, which sounds pretty easy for a first-time quest to make. With it selected and ready to go, Andrew joined my squad, we flew out from the base, talked to the person in distress, and descended to make landfall on the planet. Oh, there's the worm.
What?
You don't see that giant worm that just flew by? Oh, there's multiple.
Oh,
I don't know if we should be here. Before we even tried to possibly fight those giant worms, Andrew and I had other plans. Come here.
Some of them like to, like, fly along the ground, so, like, if he drops down.
Come here. Oh, there's a little interactive animal. Gently milk.
What? I'm sorry?
I milked them.
You what?
I have raw milk.
Let me have a sip.
Adopt his companion. There he is. Alright, I'm gonna name him Glurm. He looks like a Glurm. After taming Glurm and making sure he was properly fed and pet. God, could you imagine petting that? Slimy or squishy? I'm gonna say slimy. We refocused our efforts on the task at hand, fighting the giant worms. It's right there.
Yeah, right there doesn't help.
It's literally inside the trees. The giant ball right there.
It is not showing up for me.
The only problem, for some reason, is that Andrew couldn't see them.
I'll believe you and just follow you.
Oh!
What?
Do you not see that?
No.
You're telling me you don't see these giant worms looking at me right
Turn out the plants? Like this thing?
now? No, this...
Yeah, I don't see any of that. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Something now. It's loading in a little bit.
Once we defeated them, well, mostly me, Andrew stood there shooting at God knows what. We collected the giant egg that the worms dropped, got into our ships, and visited the social hub to cash in our mission. So that mission was a cool experience, but for Andrew it bugged out. The thing with No Man's Sky is that everything you can do in single player, you can do in multiplayer, but sometimes the spawning of objects is a bit off. Kinda like how ships sometimes fly into planets. Who are these people? Who's the one in the middle? That looks cool. Are they like going through? Where are they going? This guy's gonna crash right into us. This guy's gonna go. This guy's going right into us. Well, after hanging out with Andrew, fighting some more creatures, looking at his practically empty super ship. Wow.
It definitely needs some work. I don't know what the hell.
The furniture looks great in here. It looks like he just moved in for college. And exploring a desolate freighter that felt like dead space, I decided it was time to go back into my own world and continue the story missions. I played for around 4 hours flying back and forth from mission marker to mission marker, and I was getting into the groove of the game. And then something happened while I was searching through ancient ruins. Dude, is there a ball up here? What's this? Oh, that's right. I forgot about Grumpino balls. I got chased by local space cops, and I booked it out of there. What I didn't know is that this was going to evolve into an entire space fight with the authorities above the planet. Oh, come on. One that I had to keep fighting, or else I was going to die. At the end of all the bloodshed, I was awarded with an item. Probes archive for lost interceptors. It told me to warp towards a new system to acquire a sentinel object. Sounds pretty good. So I wasted no time and I warped on over and zipped towards the planet, almost shaving a mountain in half. Oh my god, there's a whole hill. And I noticed there was something different about this planet. One, it had mountains and hills, but two, it made everything pink and purple. The entire spaceship is pink. So this planet had to be special, right? I was a little bit confused as to where the quest marker wanted me to go. Signal trace detected, reaches final position to acquire salvage. Is it inside the mountain? It feels like it's inside the mountain. There's a little thingy right here. I parked my spaceship right here. So I landed the ship and dug towards the objective. Where the am I going? I dug for 5 minutes straight, and at some point, I felt like maybe I didn't need to be making this so complicated. Like it was on the other side of the mountain and I could have just flown over there.
Was this ship just on the other side of the mountain? Is that what I'm figuring out right now? I'm just digging through the mountain for no reason.
Eventually, I saw the light.
Oh! It was just simply on the other side of the cliff. I didn't have to go to the wall. Why did I dig through the entire mountain?
It turns out that this ship crash landed here, and it was my job to get it back up and running again. I didn't know if I was going to actually be able to keep the ship, so I just carried on with the mission, going back and forth with what the game told me to do while collecting some very valuable materials. Yo! Because there was no way they were just gonna hand me the keys to this really cool ship, right? Wrong. Turns out spending 20 minutes going back and forth trying to fix a ship that I had to Google 3 times to make sure I wasn't messing anything up, and it turns out that the part I was using wasn't the right one, and I had to offer a computer brain to an altar. Jeez, God, I gave myself a headache here. Why was this so confusing for me? Anyways, I got the ship.
Oh my god. This ship is ridiculous.
After admiring the beauty of my new vessel, the game decided to spit out a fugitive for me to test my newfound weaponry on.
You guys worth $144,000? Really quickly, Luke Geck Noctool.
Yeah, you're coming home with me, buddy. And things were looking up for me, and my new ship. And if you thought that there was a lot that I've shown already in the first couple of hours into No Man's Sky, oh boy, this next section, it's just content after content, so just get ready for that. Also get ready for more videos with a like and subscribe so you don't miss any in the future. I took a different turn away from the normal missions and the main story and decided to do my own thing. I found this spaceship drifting in orbit around a planet, which led me on a spree of things to do. And that orbiting ship gave me coordinates that allowed me to find another crash ship. I fought some sentinels who did not like me there, activated a beacon that brought me to a huge space battle that I was not ready for.
What? What? Oh god. Oh no. What's up, guys? Jesus Christ! Holy. When it comes to maneuvering things like this. Wait. I'm in a situation where I might be. I thought I was prepared. I'm not prepared. It's like Han Solo flying through the asteroid field right now.
And it got so bad, as in I could have died, that I had to flee from the battle. So I kept flying away until I could just warp out of that battle into a family reunion?
Who are these guys? Who are you?
I went inside that ship, I said hi, and left because he was charging way too much for that cruiser.
I ain't got that money. What do you mean?
I headed towards a space station, browsed some goods, and warped over to the next galaxy. And this warp has got to be the most interesting warp I have gotten in this game.
Rig it in front of me?
Which led me to more combat.
Are we fighting in the f***ing rings of a planet right now? Why?
I was gonna die here, so I took evasive maneuvers.
Don't worry. Don't worry. We will recharge the shield soon. I'm just gonna fly through the f***ing asteroid belt. No one will know. Is this a space station?
Well, look at that. I found an outlaw space station, and after initiating myself with the locals, gaining a cool new helmet cosmetic.
Oh, yo, that is dope.
I was ready to smuggle drugs and circuits for them.
Don't do it.
Sure. They gave me a forged passport to get by certain places legally, and I was off, flying towards the next system and landing down on the planet to deliver the goods while trying not to look like a space pirate.
Hello, Sentinel. Hello, Mr. Cop. I'm not doing anything bad. Why do I have this hoodie on? It's a fashion choice. I'm not a pirate.
I handed over the goods and left without a trace. I thought the game would calm down after returning to the pirate space system, but I jumped out of hyperspace and immediately I had to save a whole fleet from opposing space pirates.
Let's say one more minute.
I defeated the pirates and the dude just gave me his frigate and fleet.
You're asking me to just take this freighter for free? This thing looks like a giant, like, shake weight.
Alright then. Jesus Christ, this game just keeps going, huh? I found an anomaly a few light miles, yards, some measurement of distance away from the frigate, and while flying towards a new planet that I saw, I got scanned by local authorities.
Oh, illegal cargo detected.
And they found some illegal cargo?
Oh, that's my
Forge passport. I forgot to cash that in. Since I didn't want to get into a fight, I just gave him my forged passport, thinking that would work. That goddamn government, I swear to f***ing God. Oh, I am still upset over this. I kept flying around the space caps, doing my best to stay alive long enough to spawn in the anomaly to get myself out of this situation.
10 seconds. Please. My shields are at 0. Please, please. Oh, what the f*** is that? Let me in. Let me in. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Safe at last. I ran out of my ship, I just sat down with some other players. And this was the moment I realized that No Man's Sky was a really special game. I just experienced all of that in 1 hour of playtime. Overall, at this point, I've already spent 5 hours exploring space and completing missions left and right. I thought to myself, man, this game is ridiculous now. I went on to play more than 15 hours of No Man's Sky, and wow, you just need to play this game. I just kept finding things to do every turn of every new space system I explored. I also have found myself coming back to the weekly missions that they provide at the end of every weekend. Just a fun event for players to take part of and explore a system together. And speaking of events, those expeditions I mentioned at the start of the video, simply put, expeditions are timed events in which you embark on galactic trips from one specific point in the galaxy to another. They encompass several challenges and achievements exclusive to each named expedition, which usually come out during a new update to the game. They reward players who take the time to complete them with cosmetic rewards usable in their own save file. With all of these features, the several main story missions, countless side missions, and extensive base building that I really haven't explored but others have. Look at that. That's super cool. No Man's Sky has really shaped out to become one of the biggest comebacks in history for gaming. A game that went from utter disappointment to incredible content jam-packed in every update. And yeah, sure, the game still has some bugs here and there, and the tutorial is still a bit boring and out of date with the rest of the game. But the beauty behind a game like this is that if you were to put it down, you can easily pick it back up again. You can play for a couple of minutes or several hours. You can just turn your brain off and not worry about anything. It's quite simply the best relaxation game. Or not if you fight creatures for bounties. There is always something to do, which is hard to say about most games in today's world. And in this video, I only played around 2% of what the game has to offer. I didn't want to show any spoilers because I want you to experience on your own, but god damn, there is so much in this game. I think it's safe to say that No Man's Sky is a game that everyone should give another chance or play for the first time, especially since they just keep updating the game over and over. I genuinely don't know when they're gonna stop. So if you have a friend or simply it's a weekend night and you have no plans, give No Man's Sky another shot. And while you're at it, go ahead and give my other videos a shot. Okay, bye.
Why do we play games that we hate?
Toulouse, France, 1969. A plane is about to take flight, but this isn't just any normal plane. This is the final form of planes, the future of airway travel. This is the Concorde, engineered and manufactured by the French-owned Sud Aviation and the British Aircraft Corporation. An aircraft that boasts a top...
Look at this thing looks stupid, the little beak thing. That thing looks so dumb. Bro, this is the best plane they could make.
Speed over twice the speed of sound. This thing can make a flight from London to New York in only 3 hours, a feat that takes most commercial airliners nowadays over 7 hours.
Wait, what the fuck? What? That's insane. You didn't know? No, I didn't. I thought this would be like 12 hours. It's not stupid anymore, guys. Yeah, is it because of the beak? That's it?
And if you're thinking, that's odd, this was over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Then you might have realized that this story does not exactly have a happy ending. The Concorde, a beast as it had a beast's appetite. Because of an uncanny fuel consumption, engineering challenges requiring high maintenance costs, given that it flies twice the speed of sound, made the upkeep and upfront costs of this thing astronomical.
Right.
The initial estimates to build and maintain one were already outlandish, but
The $9 billion, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of money. What the fuck? Yeah, it's dumb again. Yeah, this plane's stupid.
the actual costs were almost laughable at around 6 times
Oh my
the original
god.
estimate.
Think about how many
And because of
flights
this,
you'll need
as
to
you can
sell.
imagine, trying to sell the Concorde to airlines was like
Yeah.
trying to sell cuts of filet mignon to McDonald's. In
Yeah.
fact, despite several airlines across the globe initially showing interest in purchasing some, once all was said and done, only Air France and British Airways bought into their lavish invention,
Right.
insisting that it would in fact be the future of aviation. A grand total of 20 Concordes were built, and it was in service for around 27 years until it was finally retired shortly
Uh-oh.
after a tragic crash in the summer of 2000. Financially,
What?
it left both the UK and France
It's the beak.
astonishingly deep in the hole. The question,
bet.
of course, is given
Yeah, it's like, because if you're selling a flight, and the flight is, let's say, $1,000, and you're selling it to 200 people, that's $200,000, and the plane costs $9 billion. How many flights do you have to do? That's a lot. All of
flaws
them, yeah.
and complete lack of profitability, why did its creators insist on going through with it? As marvelous as it was, once global interest vanished and it became an expensive toy instead of a way to generate massive revenue, instead of cutting their losses and moving on, why spend nearly 30 years trying to redeem this financial black hole? Actually, speaking of financial black holes, here's a better question. Why are you still playing Genshin? Why do we...
Yeah, but what happened to the plane, though? I mean, so, like, did they all crash? Like, do they still have them? Like, is technology better now? How long does it take now? Like, I'm kind of, like, now I'm thinking about it, you know? I don't know if I can change my mind and start thinking about Genshin Impact.
play games that we hate? Why do you still go catch every new Terra Ray Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet despite actively berating the game on Reddit? Why do we spend 2 hours getting stepped on by Lady Maria, rage quit, decide to start something on our backlog, then go load up Bloodborne again?
Well,
Why-
I think that's fine, right? I mean, the thing is, you can always get mad at a game and then come back later on whenever you're not frustrated. I think that's normal. But, like, there's a difference between that and then people that actively resent a game and hate a game and play it regularly. Like, play it on a daily basis for hours. Like, World of Warcraft has players like this. Now Diablo 4 has players like this. It's like somebody's addicted to putting their dick in a blender. A lot of the people that are still playing WoW, they're piss drinkers and shit eaters. And it doesn't matter how bad the game is, they'll still eat it. And they'll come up with excuses, be like, like, it's mostly water. I mean, what's wrong with water? Well, I like the way it tastes. It tastes good. It's healthy. At least it's not alcohol. It's sterile. Do you really need to do this?
Are you texting Destiny 2
Overwatch,
again
yeah.
when it keeps leaving you on red? It has always fascinated me how we all seem to have at least one game that we play that we actively despise but simply cannot stop playing. For most of us,
Yeah, is there a game that I actively despise but I don't stop playing it? I think there are a lot of things about Diablo 4 that I don't like, but I think overall, like, I hope that it gets better, and the things that I don't like are, now that I feel like the game is kind of at least improving a little bit, I feel like it's like a 55-45, where it's like 55% positive, 45% negative.